Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 12 o'clock. It's a Sunday. I hope you're having a great weekend. It is time for a Q&A. That's where I take all of the questions that you guys have asked me over the course of the week and I try and answer them. So first of all, thank you so much for asking all of these amazing questions. There are some really good ones. And I'm going to get straight into it with question number 1. So the first question is from Sean McNulty, who's a regular question asker. Is that correct? Is that a thing? I don't know. Sean, thanks very much for asking the question. What Sean wants to know is the best place to learn a memorized stack if you wanted to get into mem decks. Now, I absolutely love mem deck magic. I do. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I did an interview with Matt Baker, and that's going to be coming up on the channel soon. And for those of you that don't know, Matt Baker is like a genius at mem decks. He studied with Juan Tamarit, he studied with Simon Aronson, and he's kind of the man. And he said something to me which absolutely makes total sense. He said that you have to understand the difference between short-term memory and long-term memory. So what a lot of people do when they're learning a mem deck is they commit it to short-term memory. So they kind of brute force learn it, which is fine. That's how I learned it. In other words, they kind of just like every single day they just recite the cards and the numbers until they get it, and it's there in their short-term memory, so that kind of every single day they'll go, oh, 26 king of diamonds, 34 10 of spades, whatever it may be, but they don't commit it into their long-term memory. And the problem with that is if you go a week or two without doing the mem deck, you'll forget what the cards and the numbers are because it's in short-term memory, not long-term memory. So you have to keep working on your mem deck every single day. Just because you're kind of in a situation where you've got it, you need to have instant recall with a mem deck. So you need to immediately kind of hear the number 15 and go 6 of spades. Hear the number 50 and go 6 of clubs. It has to be that quick. Or you have to hear a card like, okay, 5 of diamonds, 25, king of spades, 31. It needs to be instant recall, and the only way to do that is to do it every single day. And one thing that Matt Baker said to me is even now after doing mem deck for years, he still works on the mem deck every day. He does a lot of swimming, he goes swimming, and as he's swimming and he's going back and forth, he just recites the mem deck. He recites it forward, he recites it backwards, and he says that keeps his mind sharp, and that's what you need to do. You need to make sure that you commit it to long-term memory. Now, Mnemonica is the stack I use, and I don't think Mnemonica is the best place to get the information you need to learn how to do a mem deck. Rick Lax has got a product up on Penguin Magic that I've heard good things from. A lot of people that I've spoken to have said that the Rick Lax thing is really good. What I did and what Ryland did when he learnt it, and we've now got the mem deck in our long-term memory, what we did is we took a whole pack of cards, put them in mnemonica order, and we numbered them 1 to 52 on the back. And then all we did is on day number 1, we took the cards 1 to 5, and we just practiced over and over again till we could go, right, okay, number 1, 4 of clubs, number 5, 4 of hearts, whatever it may be. Then the next day we took 6 to 10, and we did the same thing with 6 to 10 until we could go 10, 2 of spades, 7, ace of spades, 6 of diamonds, whatever it may be. And then on the third day we did all 10. So we test ourselves on all three, on 1 to 10. Then on the next day we do 11 to 15. And we just focus on that. Then on the next day, we do 1 to 15 and so on and so forth. It takes about 2 or 3 weeks, but at the end of that 3-week period, you'll be able to know the cards, and you'll be able to know you'll have recall. And then it's just a case of doing it every single day until it's in your long-term memory. It's quite funny. I've seen a lot of people posting on Facebook going, because of the COVID, I haven't done a gig in 6 months, so I've forgotten my mnemonica stack. If it's in long-term memory, it's very difficult to forget your mnemonica stack or your mem deck stack. So yes, the big piece of advice I can give you is just work on it every single day and don't give up. The amount of people that go, I'm going to learn mem deck, and then they don't bother. It's difficult. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's no harder than learning a pass or a double lift, and it's going to open up so many doors for you. So I hope that helps. But like I say, I've heard good things about the Rick Lax thing. I haven't looked at it though, because I already know mem deck. Okay, so the next question is again by Sean. In your opinion, what are the best Penguin Live lectures that you have seen? And I'm actually going to do a video on this coming up soon. I'm actually going to do a top 10 Penguin Live lectures. So I don't want to kind of tread on my own toes, but I will say, and I've mentioned this on magic stuff in the past, if you go back and look at the double blank tricks with double blanks that you've never seen before. I demonstrated Just Imagine by G, and I mentioned his Penguin Live. I think that G's Penguin Live is the best Penguin Live there is. There's 4 routines off there that I do all of the time. All of the time. Absolutely amazing. He's got this thing with a phone, which I've never seen anyone else do, and it's so awesome. You borrow a mobile phone, and you point out the camera icon, and you pull the camera icon out of the phone, and you give them the phone. You've got the camera icon, it's not there. And then you give them the phone, and you tell them to look at the camera icon, and you press a button, and it flashes. And then you take the camera icon, and you put it back inside the phone visually. And then when they open up the phone, the camera icon's back there, and it wasn't a second ago. And then when they open up their photos, there's a photo of them that you took with that little camera icon a couple of seconds before. It is killer. And it's just a regular phone. There's no apps, there's no special apps. You just borrow a phone. It's very clever. I do that all the time. G is amazing. That's the number 1. I also love all of the Scott Alexander / Dan Harlan Christmas specials. And a lot of people look back at those fondly because they're so crazy. And they are crazy, but there's so much great material in there as well. My egg bag routine that I learned from Scott Alexander. I do his routine that he taught on a Christmas Penguin Live. My salt pour routine, because I do salt pour on stage, I use Scott Alexander's routine. There's so many routines. He's got a fantastic thing for kids shows with 2 paper bags and a vanishing bottle that just brings the house down. I mean, honestly, you can't go wrong looking back at some of the Scott Alexander Christmas specials. They are absolutely amazing. But anything else beyond that, I'm going to save for my video that I've got coming up soon. But I hope that answers. Gives you kind of a little teaser there, Sean. Right, so the next question is from my friend Eric Stevens, and if you don't know the name, Eric is the man that bought us Colour Stick that I gave. I think Rylan gave it 4 billion% or something like that. And Eric asks, you're a very busy man. As a content creator and a full-time performer and a family man, how do you manage to balance everything in such a way that the stability of your mental health remains intact? And you know, it's a very, very good question, Eric. And I think the best piece of advice on this is, I've got a friend, his name is Crosley, and he calls himself the mindset technician. He's actually a mentor of mine, and I've worked with him for many, many years, and he's an expert in helping people with mindset. And he's a very big believer in not getting stressed, because he kind of says, if you're stressed, then you're never going to make great decisions. You know, nobody has ever made a good decision when they're stressed. And a lot of when people are busy, and you talk about mental health, when people are really busy and they're feeling overwhelmed, that can lead to stress. And one thing he always said to me, because I used to get stressed an awful lot, one thing he said to me is, in 6 months' time, if something's stressing you out right now, in 6 months' time, do you think that thing will be stressing you out? And I always say, no, it won't. In 6 months' time, it won't. And he said, well, if it's not going to stress you out in 6 months' time, don't let it stress you out now. And he has this thing where he says, in any stressful situation, ask yourself 2 questions. Have you done everything that you can do about this situation that's stressing you out? Let's talk about COVID, for example. As a magician, you know, a lot of magicians are being stressed out because they can't perform right now, or they've got limited performance opportunities because of COVID. So Cros would turn around to you and say, have you done everything that you can in this situation? Well, yes, you know, we've done everything we can. Is there anything else you can do? No. Well, in that case, don't stress about it. Don't worry about it, because you're worrying about something that you can't change. So that's the first thing that I'd give you. The second thing is, make sure that you're decompartmentalizing things and enjoy everything that you do. You are right, I'm a full-time performer, but I love performing. I'm also a content creator, but I love creating content. And I'm a family man, but I love spending time with my kids. So because I enjoy doing all 3 of those things, it's not work for me, it's enjoyment. And I need to make sure that they're all kind of balanced equally, if that kind of makes sense. And the way to do that is just to make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself. It's really important not to overwhelm yourself. Now, I'm in a very lucky situation, because I have a company and I have staff And I have a team who work with me. So a lot of the stuff, a lot of the day-to-day stuff, generally, I can offload to them. So you are right, I'm a full-time performer, but I don't have to worry too much about the marketing side of things. I don't have to worry too much about the admin side of things, because that's not important, because I've got other people that do that for me. So it allows me to focus on other stuff. And I think that's really important. I don't want to get too business about this, but a lot of business experts will tell you that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, and I think a lot of magicians are entrepreneurs, if you are self-employed, if you run your own magic business, then you are an entrepreneur, it's simple as. And if you're an entrepreneur, you can either work on your business or you can work in your business. And if you're spending all of your time working in your business and delivering the end product and doing all the day-to-day stuff that takes up all the time, then you've got no time at all to work on your business. So what I tend to do is I try to, and I talked about this on another video on the marketing for magicians, I talked about how to manage your time effectively, and I talked about making lists, and I talked about priority matrices, but I try to make sure that everything that I do is top priority. It's really important. And if it's not really important, I get other people to do it, whether that be a member of staff or that be outsourcing it. I do outsource a lot of stuff. So I've got a company that handles all of my Google AdWords, they handle all of my PPC, they handle all of my paid advertising, so I don't have to worry about that. I've got another company that answers phones for us when it's out of hours, so I don't have to be sitting here at 9 o'clock at night fielding sales calls. So I've really tried to streamline my life and work out where I can actually scale it back, so that when I'm working on the business, I'm working on the business. And that's why I'm doing all this YouTube stuff, because I was able to remove myself from the day-to-day running of Non-Stop Kids. I was able to remove myself from the day-to-day running of Slightly Unusual, so I can focus on stuff that I find really fun, which is building up this YouTube channel. I find it really, really fun, to be perfectly honest. And then the other thing that I'd say with regards to all of that, and this is the big secret behind how I actually managed to keep my stuff together, is Sarah, my wife. Sarah, my wife, some of you might know her, some of you might not. She is absolutely amazing. She is technically the managing director of all of the companies. You know, people think, oh, they're my companies. They're not my companies. Sarah's the managing director. I think my official title changes on a week-to-week basis, but I think I'm marketing director at the moment, or sales director, or maybe something, I don't know. I'm some sort of director. But she's the managing director. The buck stops with her. And the reason is she's so much more organized than me. She's an ex-head teacher. She's super organized. If I was running this company, it would have been bankrupt 2 years ago, and we'd just have a load of really cool toys in the warehouse. And she's amazing. She makes sure, you know, I would be going out and doing 15 gigs a day if I could. You know, gigs come in, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that one, I'll do that one, I'll do that one. And she'll say to the rest of the team, look, get those gigs off Craig, you know, we don't want him working that much, he'll kill himself. So she's there to make sure that I'm not working too hard. She'll be there to say, look, you filmed this video, stop filming any more videos today. She's there to make sure that I'm spending time with my kids. She's absolutely amazing. I have to say, the secret to my success is my wife. She is unbelievable, and I love her very much. So if you're watching this, Sarah, hi. Right, so the next question is Mr. Harmon. He's back. Hey, Mr. Harmon, how's it going, bro? Is there any witch hand devices, and are they affordable? Now, if you don't know what Mr. Harmon's talking about here, witch hand devices, he's talking about that sort of routine where you have, let's take a purse, for example. He's talking about the sort of routine where you have a spectator put a coin in their hand, they hold it out, and you tell them which hand it's in, which can be very, very strong, very, very powerful. Most of the ways I know of doing this do require very expensive electronic props, mainly because you need to be able to know, and you know, I don't really want to give too much away here, but there's a lot of detectors you can buy. Pro Mystic produce a lot of these sort of things where you can kind of tell which hand it's in just by waving your hand over. And it is very expensive. There are a couple of other ways that you can do it, however. The first way is to, wait there 1 minute. Okay, I'm back. So the first way is something I used to do years and years and years ago. Get yourself 2 identical coins, have one in finger palm, And you can show this coin. You can use a couple of shuttle passes going from hand to hand so they think there's one coin there. You then put your hands behind your back and you have somebody try to pick which hands the coin's in. And you bring your hands back out like this. And what you're going to do, you've put both of the coins in Goshman pinch. So if I expose this, you've got both the coins in Goshman pinch. So if they say this hand, let's say they say this hand, I can now open up my hand and show that they're correct, it's in this hand. If, however, they say this hand, I can do that and I can show that it's in the other hand. So I can Goshman pinch with either hand, or Tenkai pinch, whatever you want to call it. So I can show my hands are empty, or I can show that they've got coins in each one, or I can alternate it. So I can say, hey, you know, it's not here. So, and then I can do a shuttle pass again, and you can go behind your back and do it again and again and again. So you can use Goshman pinch to kind of put that across. That's a way of doing it. And Vanishing Ink years ago, they actually had a product out. I can't remember the name of it. I feel like it was called a Provocateur or something, I don't know. But Vanishing Ink put a DVD out, and it was all about how to do the witch hand routine, but it was using psychology, and it was using body language, and it was using psychological NLP touches, and it was actually, you were genuinely, it was a thing that taught you how to genuinely know which hand it's in, eye contact and all that sort of stuff. It was very interesting. I remember reading it and just thinking, well, that's not my style. I don't really do the witch hand routine, but if you can still get that from Vanishing Ink, that was a really cool product, and that would be a very inexpensive way of doing it. Personally, for me, if I was ever going to do this routine, I'd use Flux. I think the Pro Mystics Flux is the best way to do it, but obviously it is very, very expensive. Right, so the next question is by O'Brien Magic. Hey, how you doing? I hope you're well. So often we see performers using tricks exactly as purchased with the same standard pattern, gags, etc. Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it? What is your approach to adding your own spin or themes to make magic you purchase truly your own? That's an amazingly good question, and there's a few things that you need to kind of bear in mind with this. The first thing that you need to bear in mind is, and I've talked about this on Q&As in the past, so I'm not going to talk about it again too much now, but understanding your character. Understanding the type of performer you are and the type of performer your audience view you as. And that's really important, right? Because once you understand your character, you'll know that there's certain tricks that your character would probably perform and there's certain tricks that your character wouldn't perform. So for my character, for example, I know when I do close-up magic, I'm very much a cheeky kind of guy. I put myself across as a bit of a sleight of hand expert. I'm in no way pretending that I have super magical powers. I'm almost one step up from a scam artist kind of thing. I kind of put the impression over, I'm going to cheat you, but I'm going to do it with a smile on my face. So once I know that that's my character, I know immediately that there's certain routines that aren't going to work. Stuff like hardcore mentalism. You're not going to see me going, right, let me read your mind. I'm going to, and kind of almost like trying to put across that it's real. I might, however, do mental magic, and I might kind of present mentalism in a magical way, but understanding my character will make me better be able to work out what tricks I should or shouldn't do. The reason that's important is because that eliminates half the problem right there, because if I know that a certain trick isn't going to fit my style, I don't even have to worry about it. So once I've got the trick, and let's say I've learned it, so I understand the concept behind it, the first thing that I try to think of, and I've talked about this as well, but I think that something very, very important is hook lines. What am I going to say to hook their attention and get them interested? Now, sometimes the hook line that I use is the hook line that is actually included in the product, but other times I'll use a completely different hook line. So for example, Brent Braun's definitely not marked. I think that that's a great hook line, being able to say, hey, let me teach you how people mark cards. That's a great hook line. I'm not going to change that because the whole premise of the trick revolves around that initial hook, and it's a great hook anyway. It's going to drag people in. But I've bought other routines and other tricks in the past where I've completely changed the initial line because I think, well, this would be better to grab their attention. And when you're thinking about hook lines, you also have to think about what you are interested in as a person. And also, okay, so what you're interested in as a person. So for example, I don't do gambling routines. I just don't do them. When I get a book and there's a gambling routine in there, I just gloss on by, because I don't play cards, I don't play poker, I don't play bridge, I don't play backtrack, I don't play any of them. I don't understand them, I don't like them, I don't play them. So because of that, I'm never going to use the sort of hook line of, right, let's play poker, let's play an imaginary game of poker. I'm never going to do that. However, I'm into a lot of geeky stuff. I'm into WWE, I'm into Rubik's Cubes, I'm into, geeky films, I'm into geeky TV. I'm into genre films like that. So you saw a whole bunch of stuff that I did on the channel earlier a couple of months ago. I was putting out loads of stuff on Harry Potter. And the reason is, I'm a massive Harry Potter nerd. So for me, I'm going to create tricks based on presentations that I know. Because if I know something, and I know about something, and I get excited about something, then if I present a trick and I'm using that premise as the presentation, I'm just going to get more excited about it. And enthusiasm sells. It's like sales. Performing is like sales. If I'm enthusiastic about something, people are going to buy into it a lot more. I have lost count of the amount of kids that I've seen perform, and they're using patter exactly as written in the book, or exactly as the performer did it. And it's like, I remember seeing a 12-year-old kid once going, I remember when I was on a business trip to Bongo or something like that. What? And that's one thing I've tried to stop Ryland from doing. I say to him over and over again, dude, you are a kid. So act like a kid. He performed the executive suite, the Alakazam trick on the review show this weekend, this Wednesday. And if you haven't seen it, go check out his performance. It's not a trick that a kid would perform, because it's like, well, I travel all around the world. And when I travel all around the world, these are the hotels that I stay in, and they're wonderful and they're amazing. And that wouldn't fit Ryland. So we sat down and we were like, dude, how are we going to present this? And he had the idea of saying, well, my dad goes around the world as a magician and he collects key cards and he brings them back home, and I want to show you a trick with them. And then when he's taking the cards out of the envelopes, he's got a little thing that he says about each one, like it's like, oh, well, I don't know what my dad was doing there, that sounds dodgy. So now he's taken a trick where the presentation for the trick is completely something that would not suit him, and with just a little bit of tweaking, it now fits his character as a 7-year-old kid. So that's what you need to do, and that's really, really important when you're creating magic, or you're rehearsing magic that you've bought. Think about how you can make it your own by bringing in stuff that you're interested in, thinking about your character, and then you're going to have, you watch the video, film yourself performing it, and then watch it back. And think to yourself, okay, that line would be good there. That line would be good there. Let me try it with that. Let me film it again and do it with that. Does that work? And then be open to change. And what I mean by that is when you actually start performing it to real people, you'll have real people give you lines. I've had so many lines given to me by people, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to have that one. That's an amazing line. I'm going to add that in next time. They just shout something out. I'm like, that's awesome. So be prepared to change your presentation once you've performed it a few times, because never is something completely correct. It's always able to be changed. I might do a video on this at some point, but there's a few little tips and a few little thoughts of my own. But let me know down below what you think. I'd love to know your thoughts as well. Okay, Mr. Harmon, another question from Mr. Harmon. What's your preferred format for learning, books or videos? You know what? I've always been a massive fan of books. I've got a huge library. I love reading books for a couple of different reasons. Firstly, I know that most people don't read books, or if they do read a book, they gloss over it. And we do that. When you've got a big book and there's like 30 or 40 tricks in there, you kind of gloss over some of the tricks, don't you? And you kind of go, I'll come back to that, I'll come back to that, I'll come back to that, and you never do. So I can find some real hidden gems in books. That's one of the reasons I love books so much. I also love books because although a lot of the time the presentation is written down, I'm not being influenced by someone's performance of the trick. Yeah, I can see it written, but I can very easily change it because I'm just interpreting what they're writing. And part of the problem is a lot of the reason that people just do generic presentations is because they're just copying what they've seen the person do on the video. So I love books for that. I do like watching videos as well, though, because I'm a big fan of magic. I just love magic. I love watching magic. I love doing magic. I love watching other people do magic. And I love having a video and just watching magic. Just the other day, I sat down with Ryland. couldn't remember his name for a minute. I sat down with Ryan. I'm always trying to expose him to new magicians. And I'm like, have you ever heard of Bill Malone? He's like, who? I went, don't know Bill. Bill Malone. Bill Malone. I'm like, he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Dad. I'm like, sound the bellhop. He's like, no. He'd never seen Bill Malone. So we sat down. We basically binged. You know, other people are binging Netflix. We binged like six Bill Malone DVDs. We were just like Bill Maloning around the house. It was amazing. And you know, I don't care what book Bill Malone has written. It's never going to be as good as watching him live. You know, I just love watching that guy perform. But there's other people like that as well. And when you've got an exceptional teacher of magic, somebody like Michael Amar, who's a really great teacher, he can say in a 5-minute video, he can explain something better than 1,000 words in a book. So I think the answer is, and it might be a bit of a cop-out, and I apologize for this, I like both. I love books, I love videos. I wouldn't want to be just learning from videos, I wouldn't want to be just learning from books. I like a mixture of both. Right, so the next question is again by Mr. Harmon. If I buy Chop by me, and you should, will I be able to replace the builtin lemon to the nut dropper by Matthew Wright? Also, will you perform it on a Magic Live so that I can see if it fits me? Yeah, I'll perform it on a Magic Live. That's absolutely not a problem. Yeah, absolutely. I do Chop all the time. The thing about Chop is it's a tool, right? Okay, so I explain a routine with it, and I explain different handlings and different ideas that you can do with it. But it's really just a tool. It is a way of taking a normal styrofoam cup or a plastic cup or a cardboard cup, a normal non-gimmicked cup, and a normal screwed up note or a screwed up post-it note or a screwed up bill, and it's a way of being able to perform a chop cup routine with those items. Okay, so it basically means you don't have to have a special cup with you, because you know generally those special cups look like nothing on God's green earth, and those little red balls that look like little corks with red jumpers on or whatever it may be. You know, this allows things to be very organic. And one thing, when I create magic and I release magic, my magic is very organic. If you think about Chop, it's very organic. If you think about Keymaster, it's very organic. It's taking things and making it more about what you'd actually carry with you. So you can absolutely adapt it. And Nut Dropper is brilliant by Matthew Wright. I teach a very clever but very simple way of loading a bill into a lemon, and it's very motivated. And what I mean by that is you don't need a case. From memory, I think Nut Dropper requires a case that you work out of. This doesn't require a case, and the lemon is loaded at the very, very beginning before the routine even starts. So you're so far ahead of the audience, it's almost not even fair. But you can obviously replace any of the routine, any of the phases. I encourage people when they buy Chop to take the bits that they like and add other bits or take other bits away. So yeah, you can absolutely do that. You could absolutely put Nut Dropper in instead of that. That's not a problem at all, and it would work just fine. Okay, so the final question is by Maddox Hilliard. Thanks very much for commenting, Max. I wanted to get to your question because Max has asked, how do you get to 1,000 subscribers? And it's a very good question, and it's an answer that I'm not going to give you right now. I've had so many people ask me how to get to 1,000 subscribers, how to get 2,000 subscribers, how to increase your CPM on YouTube. And here's the thing, I only started doing YouTube in like August, maybe end of July, August, something like that, properly. Before that, I wasn't really, you know, it was just a place to upload tricks that I used to show to my clients. And so I'm very new to it, but I've kind of, what I've done with YouTube is I have immersed myself in it, which is what I do when I become passionate about something. My attitude is, if something's worth doing, it's worth doing well. So with YouTube, I have spent hours learning everything, and I'm still learning, but I've learned stuff that, you know, maybe you guys would benefit from. So you're asking how to get to 1,000 subs. I can do this as a video on a Monday for Marketing for Magicians, but only if enough people want to see it, because it's a very niche thing. So do me a favor, if you're interested in YouTube and you want a video on how to get 1,000 subscribers in YouTube, and really, just so you know, it's not about the subscribers, it's about the watch time. Getting 1,000 subscribers isn't very difficult at all. It's about the watch time. You need about 4,000 hours a year of watch time, which is, when you think about it, that's actually quite a lot of watch time. That's like 4,000 people watching an hour's worth of footage on your channel. So if you're doing a 5-minute video, think about how many views you need. It's a lot of views. So it's all about the CPM. It's all about the watch time. But if you want me to do a video on this and share what I've learned on my journey through YouTube, let me know in the comments. Enough people want to see that, I'll do a video for you on Monday. No problem at all. Right, that's it. That's another Q&A. As Riley would say, it's another Q&A in the bag. Guys, I want to say thanks very much for supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I'm going to be back tomorrow with the Marketing for Magicians. And I've got a really special one this Monday. I'm actually interviewing one of the top LinkedIn experts in the UK. And he's going to be talking about how, as a magician, you can boss it on LinkedIn. So that's on Monday. And then on Tuesday, I'm going to be interviewing John Gustafaro, one of my favorite interviews so far. John G is getting interviewed on this channel on Monday, and he shares some amazing routines from his work, and he talks about his 1 degree principle. So check out all of that, subscribe to the channel. I will be back again at 6 o'clock today for a Magic Live. I'll see you then. Thanks very much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.